Nearly 1 in 3 households today is one person, and most apartment design advice still hasn't caught up. This isn't a smaller version of designing for a family. It's a completely different language. Here's what it actually sounds like. A quietly significant shift is happening in how solo dwellers use the traditional bedroom, particularly in dense urban apartments where space is genuinely limited. Rather than treating the bedroom as a fixed, non-negotiable room, some solo occupants are eliminating it entirely as a separate category, placing a low-platform bed in the main living area instead, and converting what would have been the bedroom into something that actually gets used every day. A hobby room, a home gym, a dedicated creative studio. This makes a kind of sense that's easy to miss if you're still thinking in terms of a traditional family floor plan. A bedroom in a shared household serves an important function beyond sleep: privacy from the rest of the household. A solo occupant already has privacy in every room, all the time, because there's no one else present to have privacy from. The bedroom's traditional second function disappears, leaving only its sleep function, which a well-placed platform bed in a main living area can serve just as well. This isn't a suggestion that every solo apartment should eliminate its bedroom. It's a demonstration that even a room as architecturally fixed as a bedroom becomes optional once the assumption of shared living is removed, and that optionality is worth actually considering rather than defaulting past. A quietly significant shift is happening in how solo dwellers use the traditional bedroom, particularly in dense urban apartments where space is genuinely limited. Rather than treating the bedroom as a fixed, non-negotiable room, some solo occupants are eliminating it entirely as a separate category, placing a low-platform bed in the main living area instead, and converting what would have been the bedroom into something that actually gets used every day. A hobby room, a home gym, a dedicated creative studio. This makes a kind of sense that's easy to miss if you're still thinking in terms of a traditional family floor plan. A bedroom in a shared household serves an important function beyond sleep: privacy from the rest of the household. A solo occupant already has privacy in every room, all the time, because there's no one else present to have privacy from. The bedroom's traditional second function disappears, leaving only its sleep function, which a well-placed platform bed in a main living area can serve just as well. This isn't a suggestion that every solo apartment should eliminate its bedroom. It's a demonstration that even a room as architecturally fixed as a bedroom becomes optional once the assumption of shared living is removed, and that optionality is worth actually considering rather than defaulting past. A significant amount of conventional home design logic is quietly built around an imagined visitor, a layout that photographs well for someone walking in, a living room arranged to seat guests comfortably, a kitchen stocked and organized for entertaining that might happen occasionally but doesn't reflect daily reality. This isn't dishonest exactly, but it does mean many homes are designed, in part, for a moment that represents a small fraction of how the space actually gets used. An apartment designed for one can drop this consideration almost entirely, arranging the space around the actual daily reality of one person's life rather than the occasional appearance of others in it. A reading chair can sit exactly where the best light falls, even if that means it has its back to the door in a way that would seem impolite to a visitor. A kitchen can be organized entirely around one person's cooking habits, with no separate company version of anything. This doesn't mean a solo apartment should be inhospitable to guests when they do arrive. It means guest readiness stops being the default state the apartment quietly maintains at all times, freeing the space to be optimized for the person who actually lives there every single day instead. Shared households tend to organize themselves around rituals everyone in the home recognizes and participates in: a shared dining routine, a common living room gathering point. Solo living opens space for a different kind of ritual entirely, ones that are entirely personal and require no explanation or buy-in from anyone else, because there's no one else present to explain them to. This might be a small dedicated corner for a specific hobby with no obvious aesthetic logic to an outside observer, a particular chair positioned for a nightly reading habit nobody else shares, a wall dedicated to something deeply personal that would be difficult to justify in a shared space, where every design decision has to make sense to multiple people. In a solo apartment, a decision only has to make sense to the one person living with it every day. This is one of the more emotionally significant differences in solo living design, even though it rarely gets discussed directly. A home designed for one has room for genuine idiosyncrasy in a way shared homes structurally don't, simply because there's no requirement to negotiate that idiosyncrasy with anyone else. Furniture and appliances are still very often sold and marketed with a family-sized default in mind. A large dining table intended to seat 6. A refrigerator with capacity for a household's weekly grocery run. Sofas built for several people sitting side by side. A solo occupant furnishing a home with these defaults, simply because they're the standard option, ends up living inside a scale mismatch that quietly works against the space every day. Right sizing means choosing furniture and appliances calibrated to how one person actually uses them. Not a scaled-down version of family furniture, but a genuinely different set of proportions. A compact dining surface built for one or occasionally two. A refrigerator sized for how frequently one person actually shops. Seating designed for exactly the number of people likely to use it on an ordinary day. This has a direct compounding effect in a small apartment specifically, because family-sized furniture in a space that was never meant to hold a family creates exactly the kind of scale mismatch that undermines a room's sense of resolution. Right sizing isn't a compromise or a downgrade. It's simply designing for the actual occupant rather than for a hypothetical one. Getting ready for the day is an activity most design advice treats as incidental, worth a single mirror somewhere convenient and little further thought. For someone living alone, this activity carries a specific weight that shared households don't quite have, because there's no one else in the home to offer a second opinion, catch an overlooked detail, or simply be present as company during a daily routine that, in a shared household, would rarely happen in complete isolation. A full-length mirror positioned with genuinely good, flattering light, rather than tucked into whatever corner had space available, becomes a more significant design decision for a solo occupant than it might initially seem. It's one of the few moments in a solo daily routine that specifically requires visual feedback, and getting that feedback right, with light that actually shows what it's supposed to show, matters more when there's no one else around to help fill that gap. This is a small, easily overlooked detail with outsized daily impact, worth genuine consideration rather than the afterthought placement it often receives, precisely because solo living removes the informal backup a shared household usually provides for this exact task. A shared household, changing a room's function usually requires some degree of consensus. Moving the living room furniture around to make space for a temporary project affects everyone using that room, and gets negotiated, however informally, before it happens. A solo apartment can shift function instantly and completely, with no negotiation required at all, because there's exactly one person whose approval the change needs. This means a solo living room can become a temporary workspace for an afternoon and a fully restored living room again by evening, with nobody needing to be consulted about either transition. A corner can be reorganized on a whim, tested for a week, and abandoned if it doesn't work, entirely at the pace of one person's actual decision-making rather than a household's slower collective process. This total flexibility is one of solo living's most underappreciated design advantages, because it means the apartment can actually keep pace with how its one occupant's needs and interests genuinely change over time, rather than settling into a fixed arrangement simply because renegotiating it with others feels like more effort than it's worth. It's worth addressing directly at the end of this video, an assumption that sometimes attaches itself to solo living design conversations without being stated outright. The idea that designing for one person implicitly means designing around absence, around what isn't there rather than what is. This framing misses what's actually happening in the growing number of solo households worldwide, many of whom have chosen this way of living deliberately, for reasons ranging from career focus to genuine preference for independence. Designing an apartment for one isn't compensating for something missing. It's taking full advantage of something genuinely available only in this specific living arrangement. Complete authorship over every decision in a home, uncompromised by anyone else's competing preference, available at any point in life regardless of relationship status, age, or circumstance. Nearly 400 million people worldwide currently live this way, and that number continues to grow. The design language this video has walked through isn't a workaround for something lacking. It's the actual, specific language of a genuinely common and increasingly common way of living, deserving of its own principles rather than borrowed, downsized ones. Solo living was never a smaller version of anything. It's its own complete design language, and nearly a third of households are already speaking it. Subscribe for more design breakdowns.